If you believe that the world is unsafe and you believe there's not enough love, or you believe you got to overachieve to get love or clean the house, or, you know, whatever you feel you've got to do to gain love, that to me goes back to the attachment or lack of attachment you have. And so your whole world could be outside of you and nothing inside of you.
Welcome to The Unstoppables, the place where we turn those intentions into realized events. Dollars, wishes become real. And today I've got a real interesting guest. Her name is Tracy Crossley. She is the Master Intuitive Emotional Coach. We're going to find out what that means. But I'm going to preempt everything by saying, first of all, Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I've kept this in my belonging, and it is a card I got that we're going to get into in London 20 years ago. Just thought it was kind of funny. Didn't know it was going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the card reads, I think of marriage as an institution. I'm not so sure I'm ready to be institutionalized. See, that was the thing. We're going to talk about marriage, relationships, dating, love, in love, emotional connection or lack thereof. And we're going to dissect all those weird things that have happened to me to get me to this point of being single, correct? All right.
All right.
Tell me what the Master Intuitive Coach and Mentor is all about. What does that mean?
Okay, so basically, I have not been able to come up with a really great moniker for myself. So that was about as close as I could get, because the work I do is on an emotional level and it's pretty intuitive. Like, you have to actually know yourself, and to know yourself, I believe, is to be intuitive.
You mentioned know yourself, and I relate to that in this way. I think the self is always changing, but I think to a degree, I don't think the anchors or roots to who we really are, our core does maybe, but Socrates found at the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself. And I think that's the most important thing in any relationship, business, personal, to me, it's all life. You've got to be able to know yourself. So you're coaching me. We have an emotional connection of some sort. Maybe I'm putting up shields and maybe I'm deflecting things. But how would you coach me to know myself better?
Well, first of all, that I would need to know a little bit more about you, but I'll tell you right off the bat. Usually when people use the word think a lot, which you did in what you were saying, that right there tells me there's no feeling going on. To know yourself on a deeper level is to know your feelings. We have a lot of beliefs that tend to operate, and those are based on our conditioning. Those aren't who we really are. And so people tend to think that's who they are, though. You know, oh, this happened to me, and that means that I'm this person. So for you, it would be, well, how do you classify yourself? If you say you know yourself, I'd ask you specific questions. Well, what does that mean? Because for me, I'm going to get down deep and I'm going to find out what's going on emotionally, because then I'm going to know what your core beliefs are and the patterns you use to support them.
And I really appreciate what you said about beliefs, because I think we can make those self-fulfilling prophecies of our image, and we wrap ourselves in what we want society to see us as, and that's what we become in terms of image, and those are thoughts.
Right.
And Tracy, what would you say if I was to relate to you that I coach people to go with both head and gut, and the gut is the feelings part, what I call feelings, the visceral part. And that's the part that to me is, I think, most important in that decision-making matrix, because that pull, that little voice, that little tug, every time I gone against it, I lose money. I lose relationships, I lose money, I make bad choices. Would you agree with me on that?
Totally.
Totally. I think so. How the heck did you get into this business?
Well, it is a long story, but I'm going to give you the short version. So basically, I was working in corporate America for a varied amount of time. And it came to, I was working actually for a company that worked in recruitment advertising in 2008 when everything fell apart. And so nobody needed any job wanted ads anymore. And so basically I was out of a job. Long story short, I read a book. It led me to the author of the book. And it also led me to a second book. So there was a lot of synchronicity with both meetings. The second meeting was in person with somebody who had written a book. It was called Calling in the One. and it was based on ontological coaching. And so I went and met them. I was out of work. I'm like, I can do marketing. Marketing and sales are my background. I can do marketing and sales for you. Started doing that. They're like, you need to be a coach. I'm like, how am I going to make a living being a coach? At the time, I didn't know how the hell that was going to happen. I couldn't pay any bills. I was basically losing my house. I lost everything. And yet I went through the coach training program after they kept coming back to me and going, come on, you know, you really would make a great coach. And I'm thinking, oh God, all right, fine. I didn't think I could do it because I have ADD when it comes to sitting and listening to people talk for too long. So I'm like, sure. So I started as a coach in a new age store. And I also do intuitive readings. And so it was kind of like this combination. But it took me a long time to be able to, I would say, make it into a solid business. And in the beginning, and I just want to be clear with this, in the beginning, I really didn't even know that that's where I was going to go. I had no idea. So it just kind of evolved and it became my business. And a lot of it was my own journey because I've been through all this crap. I have been through blaming the world for my problems. I've been through all of the things that I coach people on in getting to be authentic and who you are. So you're fucking happy.
Yeah. And staying with the Greeks, isn't that the purpose of life, of existence, is to find and be happy?
Yes.
And you create that environment for happiness. And you've taken that long, winding journey. Who paint something, who would come to you for coaching? Just give me some profile of your ideal, maybe not an ideal, of the type of person that would come to you.
Okay. I tend to attract type A personalities. I tend to attract people who are stuck in their heads, suffering from anxiety, who really don't know who they are, but have presented to the world, you know, some kind of an amazing caricature. And they usually have struggles in their personal relationships. They either can't let go of a personal relationship that's really dysfunctional, one that's past and is no longer there and they're still attached. And there are also the single people. So it's like I get single, married, in relationship, and the people that are single are usually scared to death to get into a relationship.
What do you think we're so afraid to get into a relationship? Why are the singles afraid to get into relationships?
Because they're avoidance. So avoidance usually means that you don't want to deal with the fears you have, which are related to negative core beliefs. You have a fear of getting hurt. You have a fear of, can I be emotionally resilient enough to handle disappointment? Because disappointment is really difficult for type A personalities. Type A personalities are always like, go, 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 go. And I know because I used to be a type AAA personality. Now I'm just an A.
You mentioned an R word that's important for all of us, and that's resilience. You know, we're in the fear of being hurt and the fear of thinking we control as a type A. Our destiny, when it's a party of two becomes the one, that's the marriage, the relationship, and we have to depend on someone else for some of that, and it's not in our own. It's not all up to us. It's a scary thing for us. And the resilience, the emotional resilience, is the difference between those people who become unstoppable and move forward and the ones that shrink to the shadows of their fears. I don't think you can live life unless you're willing to come out of those shadows. And I think you are a great vehicle, a coach who can support those movements. So I applaud you for that. And I want to hit you on something hard here, right?
Okay.
Experience. You talked about the experiential, how it's part and parcel of what you coach, which is real, which is the real substance of the matter because you've lived it. But most people that I know have a problem getting over the past. So if you're on a date, let's just say it's not me, let's say it's Joe, and Joe's with Mary. Right? Well, sometimes he's got a party of 12 at that table or a party of 2 because all of her past skeletons are at that table as well, and her prejudice, her beliefs, how she frames her thought, what she's looking for in him to do or not do. You know what? So how would you coach people to, okay, understand the past, try to stay focused in the present, because if you don't, you're going to foreclose any kind of future.
Okay, so there's a couple things because I do have single clients. And first of all, I tell everybody to throw the dating rules out the window because they're a bunch of bullshit. Okay.
2 days to call you back and tell you I love you? 2 days. I should tell you I love you. Love and call you 2 days. Who are you?
Well, the deal is most people aren't showing up authentically. So authentically, you have a past. Authentically, you're here. Authentically, you have shit. Everybody does, right? So I always tell people, if you're not really being you, and there's a lot to this, so I'm minimizing what I'm saying, but if you are always showing up as you can connect with somebody because it's about the connection. It's not about, am I impressing them? Did I do the right thing? It's never that crap anyways. That's about control and manipulation. It's really, I am this person. I am flawed. I am showing up. I'm taking responsibility for my experience. I am taking responsibility for the things I say and do. So if you show up with just that, you can talk about anything. You can be an open book. It's not that you're going to have this deep, dark first date, but you're at least seeing things that have meaning, and you can have a conversation and you can go, oh, I see that I feel a connection here, right? I'm connected because we're having a good time. And the other part of it is, the bigger part is I tell people, check in with your feelings. Do not be so focused on, is there going to be a second date? Oh, wow, I don't like how he parts his hair. You know, all that kind of stuff that people tend to focus on.
It's playing the ADD card, both of us.
All righty then.
No, but what you're talking about is, I think this is worth reiterating, is that connection. Connection is about being authentic. We all have a past. It's about being authentic and enjoying the flow and not thinking to the next and not trying to control or manipulate, being something you're not, because eventually the light of day shines upon who you really are, at your nature, at your true nature. And so that's the ideal thing about connection, I think. No, I'm enjoying the heck out of this, but I think the number one thing in that is, don't be a victim. Victim's a choice, right?
Yeah.
How many victims do you get? They really don't want to be fixed. How many?
Well, I can't actually work with people who don't want to change, who don't want to take responsibility for their experience. Yeah. But most of the people that show up have some level of being a victim in how they present themselves. They're blaming this, they're blaming that, and I catch that crap right away, because I can't go anywhere with you if you're going to constantly complain or put it on someone else. I interrupt people all the time when I'm coaching, right? They start talking and I'm like, okay, now this is where we need to go, because most people don't even realize what the hell they're saying, and they don't realize they're victimizing themselves every time they open up their mouth.
Yes. Yeah. I took your test. You have a test online. So while I'm on the test, where do we find you online?
You find me at tracycrossley.com. Everything about me is there.
Tracy, Tracy, Crossley, Crossley.com. I took the test. I came out, unsurprisingly, an alpha. Big alpha. And there's something interesting in the test with females. And I think this is good for the female audience to look into the test and take this, because the untamed female, there's the untamed female, right? And then there's, which sounds really feral and kind of sexy. And then there's the alpha she female, right? The she. Yeah. So
I'm tough as Teflon.
Tell me the difference between the two, the untamed and the alpha she. Kelsey wants to be the untamed, I think. So you can only be what you are. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So when you have women in our society who are tough as nails, I'm going to kick his ass, I'm going to kick your ass, I'm going to do all that kind of crap, it's a bunch of BS, because that's just a shield. That's an armor, and you can't fall in love with armor. So
the Twitter of the day, you can't fall in love with armor. Under my name, don't put her down. Go ahead. Yeah. I'm going to steal some more of your thoughts. Keep coming with those seminal ideas.
Okay, well, they just come. So you cannot fall in love with somebody who is in a place of blocking their heart. You don't fall in love with someone's head. I say, why does your head go on a date? If you want to fall in love, you have to use your heart, right? In a relationship, you have to use your heart. It's not about winning and losing, although a lot of relationships are based on that. It is about being in your heart. So people, if they go on a date, a single person on a date, and they're tough as Teflon, I'm not quite sure what their expectations are. And I don't even think they know what their expectations are.
Great point in this way, expectations and how you define relationships, because so many relationships that I'm surrounded by, I'm not going to pick the area, but it's endemic to Southern California, are based on financial opportunity and the opportunists who take advantage of the opportunity. It's not a fucking relationship. It is in this pure sense of the word, but it's truly not the kind that I would want to or choose to live in or be a part of. So
Right.
I think that's the first thing, is you have to know, as you know yourself, what it is you want out of it, what your expectations are. That's a key word, what your expectations are in that relationship, I think. But I like the armor. You can't fall in love with it, but then the audience is coming up with some questions on this. So, okay, you have to find a way to protect yourself to a degree, because if I open up the world as a heart first, I get hurt. I'm emotional, I get hurt. How do you answer that?
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. So
And there's the opening line of the interview. We're going to shoot that. Okay, whatever.
I hear this stuff all the time. So this isn't anything surprising, right? Armor, protection, go and take it to the trash can, because you're not protecting yourself anyways. Do you get hurt? Why, yes, you do. So if you get hurt, I'm not sure what you're doing except making sure that you are not going to be successful in having a relationship that you have genuine emotional intimacy. You may have a relationship, and I guarantee it is not going to be one where you're close at heart. You can't look at other people as the problem. I'm all about self-responsibility, by the way, just an FYI.
Right.
Yes. So that's where it comes from. So did that answer the question, or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and personal responsibility is the key. You've got to be personally responsible. So many people aren't, they're victims, they blame. It's not me, it's society, it's him, it's her. You know, it's personal responsibility. You mentioned the word that most guys fear, intimacy. You have a fear of intimacy. It's the first thing you hear from women who you've gone beyond the 2-year mark and you haven't married or you're not engaged. You have a fear of intimacy. What do you think the fear of intimacy comes from? What do you think it really is?
Okay, so some people aren't going to like what I'm going to say. That's okay, though. I'm used to it.
One of them.
You're probably going to like what I'm going to say, because I think it's a bunch of bullshit that men get blamed for a lot of relationship issues. So it takes two to tango. Why do you choose a partner who has a fear of intimacy? You choose a partner for a fear of intimacy because you have one yourself, so that you can tell yourself a story. Now, this is the thing. This is all based on your belief system. So a lot of this is subconscious. It's not in your conscious mind, but it is subconscious. And so subconsciously, you have a fear of intimacy. You as the guy, you as the girl, or in some cases, same sex, same thing. So what ends up happening is you have a story that you're coming to the relationship with, and you have a belief that somebody is going to be your perfect partner. There is no perfect partner. There is a human being out there.
Can you say that again?
Which part? There is no perfect partner?
Yes.
Yeah, no perfect partner.
I learned this a long time ago, that in life, all we can ever ascribe or all we can ever strive for is good, striving for perfect is the enemy of good. And to one of your other points, if you always have the armor on, how can you ever feel the flush of true happiness? You're always going to be incomplete. You're looking for that void, but it's within you. And that's because you have your armor up. So take it to the garbage and dump it, right? Start unpacking me, Kels. Let's do it right now. Tell me what intuitive reinvention is.
So that's the name of my company, and intuitive reinvention is basically, as I mentioned in the beginning, intuitive having to do with that innate self, who you truly are. Well, when you work with me, you're reinventing yourself. And it's not that you're going to completely change into someone else, but you're going to have emotional freedom. You're going to be able to make choices that actually feel good and have clarity about what you're doing, and to be able to come from love. To me, it's the greatest way to live. And I can only speak from my own experience in that that's how I live. This is how my life is. And I wouldn't trade it, because frankly, living in armor and closed up, you're not living.
Are you happy?
I am happy. I am happy.
When I'm on stage, I talk about moving forward from the past. I talk about, first you have to be able to accept things. Whether you like or not, you have to be able to accept it. You have to be able to forgive where you can. You're never going to truly forget. And understanding is an option that may not be on the table, because you may never understand why those transgressions occurred. But what would you say the importance of forgiveness is in the including first of the self, in moving forward into a healthy relationship?
I think it's key. And I think it goes along with compassion. I think it goes along with, as you said, acceptance. So the deal is you can't mentally do that. You have to emotionally do it or it won't stick. It's not like I can sit here and go, wow, I forgive myself. I actually have to feel it. And so, you have to be able to dig out some of your core beliefs to go, all right, so I've got a negative core belief that says I don't have any value. As an example, you're not going to be able to forgive what you've done if you cannot embrace and accept that you have this fucked up belief.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. You say it's not about changing who we are, it's about understanding and accepting all of us. So tell me the steps to doing that.
Well, there's a lot of different ways we can go about doing that. But the first step I would say is to have self-awareness. Now, to have self-awareness, most people think it's their thoughts. But if you actually pay attention, and I tell people to start here, once a day, okay? And you can move this to 3 times a day, 10 times a day, but once a day, you do a body scan. We hold our emotions in our body. When you've had a reaction to something, if you notice like you're almost in a car accident, maybe your shoulders are up here, your teeth are gritted, your whole body's tight. So your body remembers that. And most people are so disconnected from their emotions. If I say, feel your feelings, they're like, I don't know what to do with that. You do a body scan. You find in your body, you might be holding tightness somewhere or pain. And you just kind of focus on it and you let it come up. You let it surface. You're starting to build an emotional relationship to yourself when you do this. Because now you're not pushing down with your intellect all the emotional crap in the past. So as you let it come up, you're freeing yourself. You're giving yourself emotional freedom. You're not holding it in. And that allows you to start looking at yourself from a different perspective of going, gee, you know what? I can be really kind to this person who I've been an asshole to my whole life, meaning me.
Yeah. And you know what my advice would be to people? Release it now. The worst things that would happen to me, Tracy, is for a woman to repress that stuff for about 3 weeks. I'd be watching football and all of a sudden I'd hear Billy and I knew it was coming. It's like a rubber band, just a snap, and there was all these things that were repressed. It's almost as if you hold stuff in and you start to crack and there's little fissures inside because you're, and then some other people like to dispense that pain right away. That's more me. Get that stuff out, right? Get it out of your emotional, get it out there. Be authentic. Blow that stuff up. So attachments, secure, and then the insecure attachments. What's the difference between, in your mind, something that makes attachment, secure, and something that makes it really insecure and unstable?
All righty. Well, you asked. And I'm laughing because there's a huge difference, okay? Secure attachment is calm, for one, okay? It's not intense. Insecure attachment, it's intense. It's crazy ass chemistry. It is anxiety. It is what are they doing? Checking their phone, checking their mate's phone. I mean, there's no trust. There is all sorts of every unresolved emotional situation that you have had is in that situation because as a kid, you didn't get what you needed. It doesn't mean you were abused, although it can be, but you had parents who were not able to unconditionally give you the love you needed all the time because they probably didn't know any better, probably didn't have any self-awareness. People who are securely attached, they have had that more so. It doesn't mean that they don't have problems, but they're not coming at it with their armor. People with insecure attachment, you got 2 people with armor on. They're waiting for the other person to do whatever it is they need them to do to feel validated, to feel okay. And that person's going to fail. And so you've got this crazy chemistry. You've got all of these relationship issues. And so insecure attachment feels like each person has 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
I got a statement and a question here. When you mention crazy ass chemistry, I love it. Mama always said never to look in the sights of the sun, but Mama, that's where the fun is. You love the crazy ass chemistry, but it comes with all the other stuff that you mentioned. You start to get that insecurity, you start to get those abandonment issues that come to the surface, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, she's gonna leave me. So you try that vice grip and you end up killing the relationship. Romance, the romantic idealist in me would say this: romance doesn't last. It's a period of that dopamine high, it's a period of that chemistry, and then at its highest level, it morphs into what? what would you say is the key to a long-term relationship beyond that crazy ass chemistry, that romantic ideal? And then I see you, your hair's all messed up. You got toothpaste on your lips. You didn't put the cap back on. You know, I'm like, oh man, you have makeup on. Oh, this is not my ideal. What makes it last into a long-term relationship? What are the keys?
Well, there's a couple of them. One is to be authentic right from the beginning. Not that you're going to show up on a date with bad breath and not having showered, but you're going to be authentically who you are. The other part of it is that you have to have a friendship and you have to stay romantic. I have a relationship and we have a very romantic relationship and we have a friendship. The biggest key though is that we have transparent communication. I don't blame him for things. He doesn't blame me for things, but we, at the same time, if something's bothering me, I talk about it, and I talk about it because it's my shit to talk about. He's not going to resolve my issues. I got to resolve them, and vice versa.
And he's going to listen.
Yes, he does.
Most people want an ear. They don't want some kind of fix. They want your ear. Most people want that. And you've got to lose the B word you mentioned, which is blame. You got to lose blame. Blame is a killer in an organization. It's people. Blame is a killer for me. So yes. I think there's Tracy. I think there's 4 pillars to a relationship. I think there's got to be a physical attraction, and there's got to be a certain chemistry that comes with that, and there's got to be intellectual engagement, the ability to discuss, to have a conversation, to understand. I think that's important. The emotional connection, which is one of your biggest, if not the biggest pillars, has to be their care for you. A woman needs to be cherished. A man needs to be admired. And I think then the spiritual overarching values and beliefs that you have that keep the two of you in sync in terms of your values. And I think that's the key to the house as a foundation for me, I think. What's
yeah. That? I mean, I do agree with that. It has to be on all levels. And it's not that it's perfect, because a lot of people that are single will be thinking, well, that means I'm going to have the perfect situation. No, it's not. It's about also self-acceptance. The more you accept yourself, the more able you are to accept the other person, because they're going to have flaws, because you have flaws, and you shouldn't hide the flaws. You got to love your flaws.
Authenticity, acceptance, embracing the flaws makes you unstoppable. Oh, that's right. It makes you unstoppable. The brain craves safety because it wants to think it's safe. It wants its number one function is to keep it safe. It doesn't like the loss. It doesn't like change. So you say what feels safe. Not necessarily safe. So we'll explain that.
So the only place it's safe is inside your body, period. There is nothing outside of you that is going to provide safety. Now, you can have stability because getting back to the attachment, so insecure attachment, it's totally unstable. In secure attachment, you have stability because there's consistency. Most people that are, let's say, avoidant or have insecure attachment issues aren't necessarily consistent, and they don't notice that because that's deep down inside of them in their subconscious. You know, going to what you're talking about, I call it the subconscious patterning. So, you know, for most people, when it comes to having a relationship, they don't really realize half the stuff that they're doing, but it seriously does come back to the acceptance.
Can you define for me in your terms what love is?
Love to me is care for another person, just care in general. It's free flowing. It feels good. It feels kind of warm and fuzzy in your chest. It's expansive. You smile when you think of the person, but it's without attachment. It's not, I got to hold on to you. I've got to hold on to this to love. Love to me is just flowing. It's there.
Is there a difference between being in love, as people say, and being in love? Is there a difference in your definition?
Well, I think there's a difference between romantic love and love, like how you love your mom or your dad, right?
Right. Speaking of mom and dad, go back to your parents for a minute, okay? Speaking of mom and dad.
Yes.
Attachment, and people can have a field day on this one. Attachment to parents as a child, how does it affect you now? You know, not you so much, but just right. Kelsey maybe.
Well, here's the deal. When you're a little kid, you're a sponge, okay? And you have models in your environment. And so whatever feedback you're getting, whether it's you're observing or it's coming to you or you're being called that, it's what you're taking in. And so this sets up these core beliefs, negative and positive. And with that, comes your attachment issues. If you believe that the world is unsafe and you believe there's not enough love, or you believe you got to overachieve to get love, or clean the house, or, you know, whatever you feel you've got to do to gain love, that to me goes back to the attachment or lack of attachment you have. And so your whole world could be outside of you and nothing inside of you.
How does safe and miserable, and you write this,
Yeah.
bump uncertainty, even if it can lead to better things? So you stay stuck. So safe and miserable trumps uncertainty. Tell me about that.
The comfort zone. So the comfort zone is what your subconscious wants. And you alluded to this. It's about safety. It's about staying alive. Your subconscious is here to go, hey, I don't want you to die. I don't give a shit if you're miserable, but this is what you know. It's known. It's comfortable in the familiarity, but it doesn't take you anywhere. You have to get uncomfortable to break out of your comfort zone. And a lot of people don't like doing that.
And what you're talking about is a constant in everything there is in life, because life is about moving always forward through the known, or what we think we know, and expanding that box of what our core, what we believe in, to maybe question what if, and think about that and not be afraid of that, of the answer, and be able to ask the question. And I think breaking through comfort zones is crucial, whether it's in business, whether it's in personal relationships. That's crucial with the unfamiliar territory. I think that's the new. And we It's one of our core striving needs. We need that. So tell me a little bit about how you define, or just give me the major definition of your definition of success. How would you define it?
My definition of success is simple. If you are fulfilled and it's a creative process, to me, you are successful. It doesn't have to do with money. It doesn't have to do with how you look to the outside. If you feel completely fulfilled by how you live your life from a creative existence, not artistic, but creative, that's successful to me.
You know, I think that you're really, and you are strong on the internal, and forget the external thing in terms of how society will define you, because it's not you. It's not the authentic you. And how society will define success, and the trappings, the material, the stuff we wrap our ego around that we want to present to our date to say, look, I am what I drive. You know, I am my title, when in fact you're freaking not. Right. So I am embracing what you're saying about the internal. I love that. Now, the other part of the coin, the other side of that coin of success is failure. So you've had some failures to get to this point, and you'll probably have some more as you get outside that comfort zone. So tell me about what you think your biggest failure is. I said think or feel. Your biggest, you caught me on that. What do you feel is your biggest failure to date?
I would say, oh gosh, you know, the reason I'm struggling a little bit with the question is that, to me, I've learned so much from everything that hasn't worked out that I don't really call it like, oh my God, that was my grand failure. You know, I could look back at when I lost everything and I could say, well, a lot of the choices I made up till that point were fear-based. They weren't built in, you know, trusting myself, loving myself, because I didn't. My whole value was based on out here. And so I would say at that point in time in my life, I felt all was lost. I mean, I was crawling on the floor at one point, okay? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I've lost everything. I lost a relationship, I lost the job, I lost this, I lost that. So, but I look back on it and I just go, oh my God, that person that I was at the time, that's how I perceived my situation. I don't make decisions the same way I used to. So I'm glad for it. I'm thankful.
I don't know how you would answer this, but I'm gonna give you two parts. This is where the head and I think the gut part has to come into play. That you have, let's say it's a woman, she's been married for 15, 16 years. She's got 2 kids, and she's got a loveless, horrific, it's not horrific, but it's a loveless marriage. And she's the provider, and she's doing it. She wants to get out. She knows she has to get out. She sees her life vanishing in front of her. How do you coach her to make those choices to gain that authenticity, which may be outside of that marriage, which has got the 2 kids, the financial responsibility? You know, how do you break that down, like the Ethiopian proverb of eating an elephant one bite at a time, and take me through that process?
So basically, I would have to know what her goal is. Is her goal to be happy? Is her goal to really get out of the relationship? Sometimes people say they want out, don't necessarily know if they want out. But the first thing that I can do for anybody is to help them to build self-value. You can't make a good decision for yourself unless you value yourself. And again, it doesn't come from outside achievements. And I'll put a little caveat with that. Outside achievements are fine, and there's no problem with them. It's when you wrap yourself up in how things look that you have a problem, because you're not valuing in here. It has to come from in here. Then you can make the best decisions in the world. And that's what I help people to do. So then they can go, okay, I'm leaving the relationship. I'm staying in the relationship. I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to, I'm going to be able to get out there and do the things that I need to do because of how I feel about me, which is good.
Yes. Two things: goals. What is it you really want, really at your core? And that's a feel. That's a feel. And then, so what is your goal? And how do you what's your value? How do you value yourself? Are you building that self-worth and value? Because no one can take the self-respect from you. You have to give that away. You got to keep that self-respect. Mm-hmm. And I think those are two key takeaways. You understand the need to feel, not just think. You taught me that. So I have to start using the word feel now more often. You are unapologetically authentic, you're self-aware, and you encourage people to build self-value. Tracy, you are unstoppable, and I'm not done with you yet. You have struggled with a question that the most accomplished have struggled with, and that's failure. It's kind of like part of the bargain there is to make this life a better life. And I think that's why you're here, and that's why you're changing lives. How do you, though, perceive a success in a relationship coaching endeavor where you see someone take off? I mean, what does that look like to you?
So I right now have, I'll give you an example, a real life example. So I have a client, and he would listen to my podcast, and he decided I could help him because his wife had just filed for divorce, and they've been married 40 years. So I took him on as a client. 2 weeks later, his wife called, and she wanted to be a client of mine. I don't work with them together as a couple. I work with them separately. And I started working with them, I think, in August, and she had filed for divorce, like I said. And I want to say it was in December, she decided that she didn't want to divorce him anymore. And that was because they've actually started changing, not because of each other, but because each individual is realizing their responsibility, because they had a lot of blame between the two of them. They had a lot of issues that would go unresolved and just fester over time. And those things are unraveling as each person is opening up to themselves and going, oh, that's my crappy belief that was doing that. I actually don't have to do the things that I was doing out of guilt and shame. And so these are the things that are changing, and I'm just watching them. I mean, I have a lot of client examples, but to me, that just speaks to they're having fun in their relationship, and relationships should stay fun and be fun. And to me, that's successful, growing together rather than growing apart.
Key is growth, because there are times, Tracy, when I think we just outgrow each other. The one is not keeping up with the other in some way, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually. You've got to be able to grow at a relatively the same pace and have similar interests in some ways, correct?
Yes, you do.
I think it's about growth, because I'm a forward person. I'm a next person, and I got to have somebody who's looking to grow with me and not pull against me. I think that's crucial to me, and that's what I want. And it's a non-negotiable on that. I got a question for you, I think, here.
It's a quote.
A question.
I want to see how
Kelsey's giving me a quote. She wants to see how you feel about it.
Okay.
Greatest gift you can give somebody is your own personal development. The greatest gift you can give somebody is your own personal development. I used to say, if you will take care of me, I will take care of you. Now I say, I will take care of me for you if you will take care of you for me. That was Jim Rohn, who's Tony Robbins' mentor. Yeah. What do you think of that?
I think it's true.
Yeah.
Because here's the bottom line with that. When you're in a relationship where you're not trying to take care of the other person and depleting your own energy and depleting yourself and basically people pleasing, so there's nothing left, so you feel like somebody owes you something, you're no longer in a place where somebody's owing somebody something. You are instead, if you're personal development, yay, because you get to have that energy inside of you, and it can make you a more generous human being. You are generous of heart at that point, no strings attached. I want to do something sweet and nice for somebody because I get off doing it, and hopefully they'll love it. And if they don't, my whole world isn't going to crash because I put my value into it. It's an extension of how I feel about me.
Let's go outside of the box for a bit. Let's talk about the universe. I think that when I put out there from a positive standpoint, what I'm doing is sharing, cooperating, collaborating with people, it comes back to me. Mm-hmm. let's just go way out there. What do you think about the universe and its role in connecting people?
Okay, so I have a little story. No, this is good. Hey, okay, so I decided because I was single for a very long period of time. I was probably like all the people that come to me, okay? And I was really good at avoiding. So I did a lot of work on myself, and I mean a lot. Thought I had already done a lot, did a lot more. Started writing letters. So I was writing letters to somebody I had never met. And I didn't hold back. Like people do this for the law of attraction and they think it works just by writing the letters. No, I was authentic. Like if I was having a shitty day, I'd go, you know what? I actually don't have shitty days. I should say shitty moment. I would put, I'm having a shitty moment. You know, I'm wondering if you really exist.
No.
But I put this out there, and 2 months later, I met my boyfriend. And what's funny, and I've read him the letters, by the way, but in these letters, I wrote things that I don't even know why I wrote them. And it's him. And that was so weird.
Yeah. No, there's some things in life that cannot be explained. And those are the things that are the most, to me, those are the ineffable things we can't quite describe. And that's one of them. Do you believe in, you must believe then, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, soulmates.
Okay.
What's the soulmate in terms of that universal connection you're putting out there?
I mean, you have a universal connection. Anytime somebody says soulmate, I'm always thinking, oh shit, they're talking perfect partner. It's not perfect partner. Right. You know, it's a human being, and there's a certain flow you have. Like we have a certain flow. It's easy. Like it is. It's really easy. And you're thinking, God, this is so easy. Every relationship I've had is hard.
Amen. It's a compliment. I think you complement each other. And I think relationships have to be easy and flow. When people used to say to me, we have to work on this relationship, the first thing I do is think about what I do for a living. And I did not want to do that in the confines of my home.
Yep.
And that's not a thought, that's a freaking feeling. So it's just a feeling. You know, if you could write one paragraph of your experience, which is vast and it's powerful, you could write one paragraph, you can make it long, what your experience has been that you could share. You're gone, you live another 100 years, you're gone, but you contributed. What would you leave for us to read, to learn, so we can profit from all of your experience and knowledge? What would that paragraph look like?
Wow. Okay. So a paragraph, basically be yourself. That's what, as you were talking, it's be yourself. If you don't know how to be yourself, then learn how to be yourself. In other words, every time you have a reaction to something, and this is the biggest thing I think if people just paid attention to this. If you paid attention to every negative reaction you have, that is telling you something is going on inside of you, and it's about you. You would want to dig deeper. Why am I having the reaction? You go into the reaction. It's got a negative belief attached to it, a preference attached to it, has nothing to do with the outside world. If you can just resolve your negative reactions by feeling the feelings behind it, your whole life can change.
You're aware, you take personal responsibility, you're accountable, you're open, you're leading with that heart. Man, if I could give you a virtual hug from here, I could come over and go to this screen. I'm loving you. I'm loving you. Tracy Crossley, you have been fantastic. Stay on the air because I want to talk to you after, get some personal advice from you. Again, tell us one more time, tell the audience where they can find you.
You can find me at tracycrossley.com. All my social media links, everything is there. My podcast, everything about me, right there.
You know what I love about you? I think you kick ass. I don't think you're there to people please. I think you're there to kick ass, and you're going to give it to me straight. And I'm going to be calling you, so don't go way too long.